Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Let's Thrown Out, where Tony is drunk. Hello, Tony.
I'm not drunk yet, but I probably will be very soon because this is 9.5% that I've drunk half of it already and not eaten for about 5 hours.
Tonight we are joined by our Lord and Master, Andrew Frank.
Hello.
And in our full HD Ethernet camera output, input, shake it all about, Gary Kitten.
Hello.
Me. And I'm Bright Till I Fly, Jack. How's it going, everyone?
Thanks. What about me? Bonjour. Yeah, cheers. Hi.
What? You were the first? Have you literally got dementia?
Yeah.
I was like,
I just wanted Frank to do the thing.
Yeah, we've already had to do it once before we even came on air because Tony tried to describe what day of the week it was and forgot. So we had to put that sign up.
Cheers.
Oh my word. Yeah,
I don't normally drink Thursdays, only Fridays, but apparently there's a storm coming in. I probably won't be working tomorrow.
I watched one of your Instagrams and on one page it was raining and I was like, it's typical for Tony, isn't it? Trying to do his job. And then the next page was you going screaming, oh my God, it's getting worse. And what I could only describe was like this full-on river down. He was filming out of his windshield of his van. And it was just like a river running. You couldn't see anything.
It did look like you just had your hose from your pole feeds just running down your windscreen.
No,
it was
about
genuinely
10 of them.
Rain. It was rain. It was so bad. I had 2 jobs left for the day as well. Literally had 2 jobs left, and it fucking pissed down.
Let's Thrown Out, available on Twitch. That is my first notification. It's only started. Now.
Are we twitching?
Yeah, we're on Twitch. It's only just now letting me know that we are live on Twitch.
That's not too bad, delay.
Simulcasting.
I know. That's it.
We could even go on LinkedIn if we wanted to. There's that capability.
Is there a live LinkedIn? No way, really. No one would ever employ us ever again if we did that.
I don't know what would happen. Would I start getting job offers for strange podcasting stuff?
Oh, we get those already.
Shiny video stuff. It's 9.5%.
That is so
pretty
funny.
strong. It tastes really nice, but
Tony, before London flooded? I think you were out flying.
I did. I went mountain biking and flying. I haven't flown
at the same time.
Well,
I did challenge him to that the other week.
The challenge was there, but I was like, no, I can't do this. So no, I walked up half the trail, sat and waited for my mates to go up to the top, and then filmed them going down a couple of times. And was like, come on, do it again, lads, get back up there. And they pushed up and then filmed them again. Looked back at the footage, and then it was on time lapse for the first 2 runs, so that didn't work.
Oh no!
All they had to do is press the top button, but somehow it got pressed on there and moved it along to time lapse. So that
GoPro, if you're listening to this, can we please have the ability to turn on and off modes in our camera in the settings?
It was very,
so
very
much better.
annoying.
Why would you ever want that?
And then I filmed them again, and it was getting a little bit dark. But we watched back the footage. It was just literally the top of their heads, because they were going too slow down the trail, and I was behind them, but the angle I had to go faster because I've got a 25-degree. So ended up swapping out the Let's Play Dementia. Put it up quick because I've forgotten what it is.
Is it a GoPro mount, Tony?
Yes, thank you. Swap the GoPro mount to from a 25 to about a 15, and got them in shot. So I managed to, be able to go the same speed behind them and keep them in shot. But I've decided I need some CBs as well. I'm going to buy some walkie-talkies because it was like, ready? Yeah. I'm coming, and it was just all for about 10 seconds of footage. So it's just, I don't know. It was all right. It was quite cool flying in the tree down in the woods with the DJI set up, because literally you could see everything. Just felt so comfortable. It felt fine. It was good. If I was analog in it, I wouldn't have liked it very much. But that was my flying, and that's all I've done within this week.
So but yeah, I mean, I just saw in the chat, Caroline said she's just made a second 3,500 milliamp hour Lion pack for the 250 gram, and combined with talking about chasing mountain bikes, reminded me of a conversation I had recently, I think on the Dorset Drone Club Facebook group, which is where my parents are based, so I joined that group. Some guy posted the latest, or maybe probably not latest anymore, but posted an XJet video that he recently released, saying kind of like, spotters shouldn't always be required. Like 250 gram things are safe for all these situations, so why should they need a spotter? Kind of thing. And I was just kind of saying on there, like, you know, something that's safe in some situations might not be safe in other situations. Like a 250 gram quad in a clearing in the middle of nowhere is going to be fine. But if it's in that same clearing, but there happens to be a load of, like a high-speed downhill mountain bike track that goes through that clearing, then it's not going to be safe anymore.
No.
But if you're speaking with them and you're actually chasing them, and they're like, they're involved with it and they know what's going on, you've like organized stuff with them, then it will be safe again. And it's like, to try and capture all that level of detail in rules that are actually specific enough to deal with it, then like it's impossible to have everything explicitly written out for every possible case, whilst also being readable and like not a million miles long of bits of paper.
It can't be done, but they're not willing to say, please use common sense and don't endanger people.
Well, I think that's the problem.
Don't endanger people, vehicles, or buildings. It's subjective, but I kind of think in the olden days where they didn't have to overregulate everything, that would have been okay. But in this new time of super enlightenment and wokeness, everything has to be very explicit, and everything is incredibly dangerous, and we have to respect everybody's feelings, even if they're not there. They might get offended if we're flying on a clearing. It's kind of all philosophical. If a quad flies on a clearing and no one's there to hear it, do they still get offended? And the answer is yes. They're outraged for some reason. We don't know why.
Well, that's kind of that was my point on it. Was like, if you're in a clearing where there's nothing about and there's no chance of anyone coming there, then there's no one to enforce it. So what are you complaining about?
But you've made a
because if you then make a video and put it on YouTube, they'll say illegal. Have him arrested. He's endangering the grass.
Yeah, that's fair. But it's
actually, you made this argument against me once, Frank, where I said I think long range or beyond line of sight is completely reasonable given the circumstances. You're in open field, there's nobody there, and you said, well, what if the medical emergency helicopter has to land?
That was why I was saying below tree level, in a clearing below tree level, because
yes, but a helicopter would have to land below tree level.
Well, yeah, but if it's that's why I'm saying a clearing. To me, a clearing is not like somewhere a helicopter is going to be landing. But yeah,
I feel a clearing is like from a certain point outwards. Because it becomes clear.
I think if it's big enough for a helicopter to land in, it's not really a clearing; it's a field. I don't know. Lots of semantics.
Helicopters land in some cool places. and
Yeah.
literally there's a forest and they've gone down and landed on pallets. I've sent links to that video before, which is just wow. I can't believe you can land in there, but I don't know. I think it's good to have a spotter if you can have one, but with a little quad like that, is it necessary really all the time?
Any views or opinions expressed on this show are truly personal and do not reflect the law.
I think the spotter is perhaps the most commonly broken rule. And there's still, as Bruce says, there's still a lack of people being constantly killed because we haven't got a spotter. It always strikes me as well that spotters, if you're more than sort of 200 meters away, then a spotter can't see the depth well enough to say you're getting close to this person here. I mean, in certain areas, it's especially if walkers use the field, it's very handy because they can just alert you to the fact that a mountain biker's come in the field, or some walkers have come down there, and they can just alert you to it, or help.
There's a very friendly dog about to jump up on you.
The good old dog. You can no longer land because the owner has not got its dog under control and it's jumping around. But yeah, I just don't see it.
Right, Robin is shouting this.
Which is article.
We are a
Frank
podcast, so we need
stuff.
to read it out. Frank.
Robin says that you don't need a spotter in the UK under Article 16M. I don't know if he meant to do M or whether that was just meant to be punctuation. Maybe. I don't know. I haven't read it.
He's become lazy in his beardy old age. He doesn't read stuff anymore.
Well, there's just
got
so like the legislation was like condensed down into minimal amount of documents, and I was following it. And then they decided, actually, we're going to spread it everywhere and have loads and loads of documentation spread across loads of documents all over again and make it even more impenetrable. And I just gave up, and so I can't be bothered. So,
but we rely on you.
Don't.
Well,
the pilot is responsible for ensuring the legality and safety of his own flight.
Oh, God. Can I just take a can of beer and say, sorry, officer, I was drinking an inch?
I mean, you can try. I think a £50 note is, the usual Tony method that seems to work better. But...
Yeah. No,
there was a handy link in the chat, and it links to fpvuk.org. And it says, when the rules changed on 31st December 2020, this authorization came into effect and allows association members to enjoy privilege beyond the new US rules, such as flying FPV without a competent observer for each drone in a sterile area, such as a race location. Sterile area, I guess, is your subjective point there.
From vague memories of when sterile area was originally being sort of discussed, it was basically a secure area where it was reasonable to expect that no one could access it. So it's not just like an empty field in the middle of nowhere, but it's an empty field with fences where
like a caged area.
Oh, and then point 2 of that one just says flying FPV with a competent observer. How is that? Enjoy privilege such as flying FPV with a competent observer. Surely that does say you have to use a competent observer. I'm confused.
Yeah, and then as Robin says, there's the additional issue of how are the police meant to be able to know the intricacies of what you're actually allowed to be doing. Like, are you allowed to do this or not? And then you're having to defend yourself to the police. It's a mess, and I've given up. It's not interesting to me anymore. I don't care.
It's a question though. I don't think many people have come into contact with the police where the police are like, you're doing it wrong, I've got my scales, I can tell you over 250 grams. Is it generally the fact that someone reports a video on YouTube to the CAA and the CAA then investigate and decide if you've broken the law based on the video you've posted?
I don't know. I mean, I've
lately.
definitely multiple times had police come up to where I've been flying.
Says he flying next to a
you live
prison.
in London near a prison where people get stabbed. Well,
Yeah,
did.
They, that was
just
more
their
a question of
routine
what the rules were at that particular site. Like, as long as we were flying within those rules, they were happy. Because there was a board with some rules on that you could point to and go, look, those are the rules.
Let's take a board round with us.
Just bring a board with you and just say, this is a
nail it into the ground every time you're flying, and say the local bylaws of this area are that you're allowed to fly.
It's just as relevant as the sign saying no drone flying here, because unless the landowner has said you can't come on or there's a bylaw, then it's not really a law. It's just a sign.
But if it's a sign that's put there by the landowner saying don't fly your drone,
if it's a sign put there by the landowner, that's one thing. But it's like
specific.
sometimes
has there been a spate of other signs being put up by other people then?
No, but I think we should start doing it.
Agreed. Take your own sign with you.
Yeah. I'm going to put one up. There's like, in your local park where there's good play parks for doing whooping, just put a sign up saying no children. No under 18s. Something like that.
50 quid.
Yeah.
Mum's the word.
Oh, dear.
That would work.
That's amazing.
How are you, Jack?
I'm all right. Why?
Just asking. You been out for a fly?
Nah, Digby Down was busy Tuesday, so I haven't been out. No children. Yeah, no children off leashes. Children must be kept on leads at all times.
Yeah.
No.
I mean,
speaking of people in the park, Curry Kitten, I watched your latest video of Open HD.
I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah, no worries about 250 gram limits there.
Oh, no.
No, you do have to worry about children stealing your car, though.
Did that happen?
No, but I can just imagine, like, little children of wonder when this apparently magic car drives past them and there's no one there. They're like, I'm having that. That's a magic car, that is. Yay. That's why I sent Sophie with me. I said, look, anybody it's dodgy with it, you go and punch them or something. That'll sort it. But yes, this was the follow-up Open HD video where I attempted to...
Is this a follow-up 10 months later?
Is it? Yeah.
It's been a while, isn't it?
It's been a while. We had the whole pandemic thing going on, and then I couldn't walk for a long time, and just some other stuff was happening. But yeah, I went back and I tried to fix some of the problems I had. Like, I wanted to be able to use goggles so I could see, because that little 7-inch screen was great unless you're outside, and then it's just a reflective thing. So, and then we didn't record it very well last time, so I wanted a way of recording it. So we ditched the 7-inch screen. I put the Pi in a little printed case. I've got HDMI directly from that into some 1080p goggles. I found out how to do Ethernet over USB, so I can tether it to my Android pad, and that stopped any interference with the Wi-Fi hotspot. So I think we've got it as good as we can do. Although I've cocked up some of the iNav programming, it would seem. So the compass was going mental, and Return to Home did this really interesting thing where it turned the camera towards home and then drove off in the opposite direction, which is a good way of getting... It's almost like an automated mode. It's like, I want to see myself driving away. It's like, Return home. Yeah. But that was quite good. So I just check I can fix those things, and then it's on to flying stuff next. Now I'm happy with the config. I've got the F450. Get that back out. Update iNav on that, and go out, because I've got a normal FPV set up on that. So I'll go out and test that properly. We'll make sure we get position hold and return to home work, so it generally flies okay. And then it shouldn't, because I used it because it's so big. You know what a 450 is? It's got that space like this big. I can easily just chuck an extra Pi in there and a camera and see what happens. But I've had a couple of useful suggestions from other people using FPV about the types of much better cameras that will work for a Pi, because the little camera that works for a Pi, it's really made for like a little indoor webcam. So it's got no wide dynamic range. It's kind of like, do you remember when we started out with really bad security cameras, and if you point at the sky everything's black, so you ended up sort of pointing down all the time just so you could see what's happening? It's like that. It's not very good. So there's stuff to do, but I think it's still quite exciting. And what's happening at the moment, it's a side, it's not part of OpenHD, but there's been, it's got OpenHD's blessing. But what has happened, some guys have started up an idea, and I think the guy we had on a couple of weeks ago, who I've forgotten his name already, mentioned this. Who was it?
Come on, Frank. If I get the Let's Play dementia, when I forget things,
dementia.
and needs it.
Frank's looking at his spreadsheet.
Thank you.
Find on the spreadsheet. What he mentioned is some guys have made a Patreon page rather than, it's not like a Kickstarter or anything, and they're trying to raise funds to do a design for a specialized board that will basically act in a similar way to the Pi do, but like dedicated hardware to get much better compression, decompression on the images, so you can reduce the latency and have it all smaller. Because although a Pi Zero, like you can pick up for a $5, is dirt cheap and stuff, but it's not convenient. It's not convenient to install or wire in or anything else. So if we bring that down, shrink it up, that might be interesting. So I'll try and touch base with those guys for the next video just to see where they are and if they've got anything going yet. I think that'd be quite interesting.
Yes, it's Belric, who is shiny video stuff in the chat, I believe.
Aha. Okay.
I remember you.
He's very, very good at explaining things and talking nicely. He should be part of the crew, I think, maybe. We've just got a donation. Thank you.
Donation. Dementia is not worrying about being ill. There's always pros and cons. Swings and roundabouts with things.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Yes. I met C. She's lovely and very knowledgeable and flies lots of things.
Yeah, Caroline's been doing some great fixed wing videos of late.
I don't think I'm subscribed to her.
I've left a few comments.
I need to subscribe to C. I don't think I'm subscribed.
Fire.
Some fire for you, C. Enjoy.
I think FX Node was suggesting an FPGA, field programmable gate array, I suspect.
Yes, that would be the obvious chip to use, because then you can have basically program the chip just to be able to basically do compression or decompression very quickly, and it doesn't have to run an operating system. So what the Pi is doing is just like it's running Linux, and we're also saying just turn this into H.264 and then chuck it over the network link, can you? Which is obviously, it does it reasonably quickly, but there is a end-to-end delay of about 100 milliseconds. Somebody asked me if I could see a delay in the goggles, and if you've seen the video, driving over grass in a car, it's like bouncy, 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 bouncy. Tony, you've got a Tamiya truck, haven't you? You know how they go around. You put an FPV camera on it. You could have crossfire on it, and you could have 200 milliseconds delay. You're looking through the goggles, you can't tell the difference because the thing's just going all over the place, and you're going, oh, my eyes.
Yeah, I don't think it would work. Thanks so much, C, for the donation of £10. That's very kind.
I mean, absolutely. Thank you very much. The other thing that I was kind of reminded about when you're talking about sort of using some slightly different hardware after kind of prototyping it with the Raspberry Pi was the rotor hazard project. which was or is, I think, an ongoing project. Sort of building on the Delta 5s, which were the sort of race timing systems where you had like a RX 5808 receiver chip plugged into an Arduino Nano, and then you had like 8 of those, and then you plugged all those Arduino Nanos into a Raspberry Pi, and then the Raspberry Pi was kind of putting everything together and feeding stuff out again, either to like screens or to race lap timer or whatever it's called.
Hold on, Frank, do it to yourself, please.
Yeah, and sort of they've come up with a version of that. Sort of they've gradually kind of got more specific hardware, so they've come up with their own PCB. So now they're having just a board that takes all the 5808s directly, and there's just one STM32 chip that's speaking to all of those. And it's quite interesting to see kind of how they're getting kind of more specific hardware, which is cheaper to sort of make a whole thing, but it's been more expensive, I guess, to kind of develop it the whole way. It's quite interesting to see kind of how that has come about. But the Road to Hazard stuff is quite impressive. Winterblue is suggesting we should get Cerberus on to talk about it, and I would like to know more. It is quite cool. Kind of as another open source hardware, I think that's safe to say. Open source hardware projects. It's quite interesting, and they were incorporating not only the analog stuff but the DJI stuff as well. And yeah, it's quite interesting what they're doing there.
Talking of DJI stuff, has everyone seen our friends Andy RC's new camera for the
the night vision?
Pretty good, isn't it?
Yeah,
especially for a HD camera.
What is it? The Polaris or something? Is that what it's called?
I can't remember.
Let's play the venture.
Let's put it. That was for all of us.
No, I think I can. I think that's what it was called. CC3D for the win. I know. Negotiations broke down regards getting that frame. I know. Oh,
Caroline says polar.
Caroline.
I'll go with C over B.
I feel we've lost Tony to drink now. That's it.
No. Why? I'll go with C over B.
But you're starting to slur and look really happy with yourself and knowing 2 letters the alphabet.
I go with Carolyn over Brighton Till I Fly. Come on. Anyone can work that out. Jesus.
Oh, dear.
I think it's called what C said and not what B said. Well, I am a bit lazy. It's quite strong, that bit.
He's in the happy phase before he goes to the just a sleep phase.
Yay! I don't think I'm working tomorrow. But there's a storm coming, so I don't think anyone will be flying or
blue skies here.
Yeah, it's too windy down here today. It's calmed down now, though.
It's going to get 75-mile-an-hour winds ish.
I know. It's going to be great fun.
I know. So
yeah, Caroline
I was supposed to be going up a scaffold tower tomorrow, but not.
Caroline had this interesting video on her mini Talon where her VTX just failed, and so it was a case of RTH and then landing it very expertly line of sight, and she just found out she was putting too many amps through the module, through the Matex 722. Which is why it's worth watching Caroline's videos, because she puts some good ones in there, and she's had some exciting crashes as well as successful flights.
Mr. Fruitcakes is watching from a hammock in the middle of the woods. That's pretty cool. I was about 2 hours ago. I was in the woods in a hammock. So yeah, nice one, Fruitcakes.
Is that the F722? Is that the same as like the Is that the one with a really bad regulator on it, single board?
I went to blue.
Don't know.
I can't remember.
I've got an F411 WSE ready to install on my little
I get
low
Let's
dart.
Play Dementia. He doesn't.
Tony, you have control of that as well, right? If you're signed in.
Yeah, but that means pressing buttons, and I could literally stop the stream at this point after this.
Best not to let him press any buttons.
Don't let me press buttons. I will stop the stream immediately. This is really good beer. Yeah,
Ooh.
I'm not doing it.
Do you want to read that out, Frank?
Belric / Shiny Video Stuff says he's subbed to the OpenHD Patreon. The latest update shows that they have a camera design and a larger development board to experiment with the chipset before shrinking it. Sounds exciting.
Interesting. Yeah. I will try and talk to them before I do my next video, just to let people know what's going on. Because one of the problems about looking at OpenHD and showing videos about it is people don't have much forward-thinking idea about, like, oh, but this isn't as good as DJI, is it? Therefore, it must be rubbish. It's like, well, this is early, and then as they develop, it can get better.
Is it on 5.8 or 2.4?
It depends which module you use, and it can do either. The one I use is on 5.8. Which makes me think I should piddle around with the antennas, because there's just a couple of linear poles at the moment.
Oh, so maybe.
If it's 5.8, must be able to use like circular polarized things and do better.
Totally.
Seems reasonable.
Of course.
And you could use your return to home to mode to have like a reverse antenna tracker.
Exactly. That would work really well. That's brilliant. Yeah, I could put the patch on the rover.
That's so bad.
But yeah, well, because I think you were going to be the only person, at least so far, who was going to have OpenHD and bring it along to LDO now. So I'm slightly relieved that I don't have to worry about how we handle the frequency management with OpenHD versus everything else. But I am going to miss having you there, of course. But also, I would have quite liked to have seen the OpenHD in person.
There is a couple of people in the chat who have said, "What is LDO no?" So
good segue. Tell him, Frank.
I think we have to have an explanation.
Yep. So LDO No is a one-day event that we're holding in person on August the 21st, which is a Saturday, south of Guildford in Surrey, in the south of England. We're going to be there with a field. I mean, they're not quite a field. There's a bit of woods. We're going to have a hut with some power and possibly some internet if I can work out how to get some Ethernet from where there is internet to where we'll be. And a toilet as well on site. I mean, we're talking about FPV luxury here. Exactly. There's limited parking, so we're having limited people coming, and I am having to get all the license plates so that the tractors don't just sort of take things into their own hands and start moving people around. So don't just try and work it out and then turn up, because that would be bad. But there is a sign up link that is for until this time next week. It is Patreons only. I think I've got that right. And then, but it's 2/3 full already, so you might have to think about it. Was LDO No intentionally timed to clash with Popham? No, I can honestly say that. It was originally going to be sooner, but there was a request to push it back a bit, and this happened to work out for the venue as well.
Could I request to put it back again to the original date that I could come?
No, because it's organised now with the venue.
It's-
The venue have
it's
signed off on
fixed.
it, so it's happening then. Sorry.
It's fixed, unlike
I blame
your
NJ
knee.
for all of this.
Yeah,
It's his fault.
yeah, pretty much. Because there was 3 separate FPV people who got married on Monday.
Wow.
So
Yeah, big congratulations to our sexiest man on earth.
yeah, congratulations to NJ. Congratulations to Bradley or Boston if you met him at LDO Games. And congratulations to Russ, Danger Russ, I believe. I think that's the right Russ.
I like that, Russ. Danger, Russ.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, so
also,
LDO no, currently sign up only on the Patreon. It will be released publicly if there's still spaces next week.
Which probably will be spaces.
Well, like I say, it's 2/3 full already. So,
okay.
you know,
Mm.
we're pushing it.
is it all levels of Patreon availability?
Yes.
So you could sneak in there for $1 or so.
Yes.
Hey.
Possibly, I think.
Hey, Patrick,
It's worth your $1, even if you do it for 1 month.
Mm-hmm.
and then hopefully forget about it.
Yeah, so we keep the $1, which helps us out because we do struggle. It's a struggling game, but we're keeping
that
our
is a
heads
point.
above water
NJ
at the
should
moment.
be living up in Barbados now.
Well, as long
All
as
right
he's
for some.
double jabbed.
Yeah, I'll see how we're doing on the sign up. See if there's been any change because I haven't checked it today.
Have a look, Frank. Have a look live.
Exactly. I mean, what's the point of being live if you can't have a live update?
Yeah.
We have had more signups. So there's only, well, actually, yeah, I guess
3/4.
pretty much. Yep. So yeah, it's filling up fast. What have we got? We've got 78.6% will be bringing analog FPV. 64.
And they've all committed to smash up any DJI goggles anybody else has to keep analog alive.
Right,
64.3% are bringing something that's line of sight. 35.7% are bringing something that's DJI. Someone's bringing some 1.3 stuff. Someone's bringing some DJI stuff.
Is anyone bringing socks and sandals? Anyone signed up for socks and sandals?
Well, line of sight, yes. I'm assuming that's what you mean. And
the
looking at
HD flying.
Yeah, I mean it's super HD. Looking at kind of the things that people are interested in, so that we know sort of what to balance, sort of what we put our time into. 100% of people that have signed up are interested in FPV freestyle. 71.4% are interested in long range and endurance. 57.1% are interested in whoops. Then there's fixed wing racing, X class, helis, crawlers.
Oh, we have some crawlers as well. That's cool.
Yeah, there's quite a bit of interest in all sorts of different things.
It's gonna be a fun day.
Yeah, the most sort of asked for thing is just social thing. So it will mainly be a social hangout by the looks of the sign up.
That's good to me.
With a load of chat, with a bunch of flying, and hopefully seeing some cool stuff. I do like the requests for what people have asked for at the event. Just fly and chat. Jack, watch Jack eat Tony. Meh, drink, annoy Tony. That's
most of them were Jack.
there was only one of those per submission, so those are all separate people.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Well,
I think it's best just to fill your car up with all your models, so when you crash them, you can just go get another one and start again.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Curry's not going to be able to make it though, is he?
No.
I was coming, and now I have to get my knee operated on the 23rd, which means I have to quarantine beforehand. Boo, indeed. Sorry.
Oh man, Carl Anderson said, "I wish I could make it from Canada."
I know. He's my friend out there who I sent my backup quad, and he learned on the sim and flying FPV worryingly well.
Good.
He's gonna be better than me in like no time.
Fair, that's cool.
So it's pretty cool, man. Watching someone like grow, and it's a testament to the simulators because like how me and Tony learned, and probably did Frank. Yeah, and obviously Curry was just absolutely horrendous of just crashing every 5 seconds.
Yeah, cold days, windy, expensive props.
Killing batteries as well.
Killing batteries, yeah, man.
I used to buy wood in B&Q for my tricopter arms. You could get them in 3.6 meter lengths, and back then I had like an MX5. I just put the roof down, load it up with these long things, take them home in the garage, cut them all to length, have them ready, and then I could go out and change arms over again, because that's what happened.
Nice.
I don't know how got it made. These newbies. These newbies have got it made.
Drilling holes in my makeshift Dremel pillar drill, like for hours on end, and then having to hoover up, like and like the correct spacing and everything. I don't miss it at all.
No, he doesn't even hoover. He has a robot to do that for him.
Yeah, and Frank's joined my over. The robot takeover.
I was jonesed into the Roomba scene.
Yeah, but does it trap him out of his house?
No,
not yet.
The phone board did that earlier.
Oh, static bit of phone board keeps you out.
Oh, we have a saviour for the last 15 minutes.
Well, I was also gonna just while he's joining the call, I'll also say on the topic of kind of events, Clive on our Discord did mention it might be worth keeping the 16th of October free if you can make it to the Northolt area and are interested in wing racing or possibly X-Class, I think might be mentioned, but definitely wing racing. So
I'll be interested.
16th of October. 16th of October, Northolt. It's northwest.
Johnny Banton is here. Oh my word, that is an
original
OG.
He's an OG there, right there.
The podcast. Look at that. The
second sexiest man alive.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, he would crash and then run to his quad.
He was always running.
Little legs. The great Mobius killer.
Yeah.
I know. A wild Belric appeared.
All right.
Hello.
Loving this.
Audio check.
This now you need to go up on the top run because you've beat Frank in my eyes.
It's starting to stick out either side of my face now, isn't it? It's just
loving that. Oh, look at that.
Frank's down here with me now.
This needs waxing so you can do the villainous like twiddle of the moustache at the end.
Absolutely. Yeah, all you need is laziness, guys. That's all you need.
Can confirm.
What happens here though, Stephen?
Make it the massive shining light. Yeah, that's just a very strong light fitting. I haven't actually polished my head. It just looks like it. Yeah, so you were talking about OpenHD. I just subbed to their Patreon because I thought, why not? They could deserve a couple of quid, and I'd kind of forgotten about it. And yeah, they're putting together a little board and a little camera, which looks very promising. So fingers crossed. Send a couple of quid their way.
Nice.
Yeah.
See, like whenever you mention FPGA, it makes me think of the wonderful
huge monsters.
Yeah, the wonderful open source upscaler.
Right. Yeah, I think of like crazy bits of hardware used in fintech that just chew down thousands of watts and turn out a lot of heat. That's the other end of FPGAs. FPGAs are kind of what you use if you want something to be in hardware, but you're really impatient and you want it right now. You want your program to run like it was running on dedicated hardware instead of code running on a general purpose CPU. So you shove it on an FPGA and you get that massive speed boost. But you also get a ton of heat. And they're quite expensive because they take a lot of transistors. They end up like massive chips.
Too big.
Too big for a quad.
I have heard...
Sorry, Frank, do you want to go first? I was just going to say, designing your own chip is much more involved. Can you run stuff that quickly on a general purpose chip? I suppose is the question. Instead of using FPGA, can you get a general purpose chip and run the dedicated code you need without any sort of other stuff going on?
If you get like a Xeon and manage to put that in your quad, sure, but you've got other problems, haven't you? There's always dimensions, right? So it comes down to kind of complexity and cost and heat and speed. And if you really want to push speed, you tend to end up with complexity and heat, or you end up with something that's a bit more expensive. And FPGAs basically allow you to take something and lock that code straight into a piece of hardware at runtime. And you don't need to order a special FPGA. You take any FPGA and just put your code in it and plop. And if the FPGA is powerful enough, it'll run your code a lot faster. But an FPGA encoding video is always going to consume a lot more power and require a much larger chip and a more expensive chip than an ASIC encoding video. And an ASIC is like taking your code and burning it into a set of chips and saying this is now a special purpose chip and it can only do this type of video encode. It's application specific integrated circuit, right? So they've literally taken your code and made an integrated circuit that just does that code. So they're a lot smaller, and that's what the Raspberry Pi has for these Broadcom ASICs that encode video. I think that FPGA is kind of a short-term solution to get people in the air, but it's going to be hot and expensive. So it's just a matter of time before someone finally forks out enough cash to get it done as an ASIC. And from the sound of it, these OpenHD guys have been talking to some of the SoC manufacturers, and they seem to think they found one that's going to do the job. It's geared towards 4K 30. By the sound of it, they're in the business of, the camera does 4K 30 and the ASIC would do it as well. And they're kind of twiddling it around to say, we don't want 4K 30, but can we do 1080p 60? And what does that look like? And can we take the camera and take 4 pixels and turn them into 1 pixel? So we take our 4K image and we end up with a really nice wide dynamic range 1080p image where we got lots of light coming into each pixel and stuff like that. So they seem to be focusing on that.
I mean, the other thing I've heard about FPGAs being used for sort of recently is sort of during the chip shortages when, because it turns out there's not a lot of development, not a huge amount of hardware development going on at the moment. But there's obviously a lot of chip shortages. So there's people with piles of FPGAs going, what can we use these for? People desperate for chips that they can't get hold of. And there's those two groups have been meeting. So maybe we'll see sort of more adoption of FPGAs elsewhere as well. Which
I'm sorry about that diversion. I have been watching a lot of bottom back episodes this week. So just, if you want to go back to knob gags, I can help.
That's something that we can do is knob gags.
I thought it was just to cut your trousers.
Are my trousers rucked up? Is that a police chopper?
Can't keep a good man down. They kept you down, didn't they, Richie?
I'm very lost. If anyone else is not following this, don't worry, it's not you.
That's fine.
Whatever's going on here, I don't know.
That's fine. So all the bottom live performances. What happened to comedy? Yeah.
I know. Well, one of them passed away. That's
job.
what happened.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to the show.
Anywho, yeah.
What's left
I
of it?
was going to ask Curry about his OpenHD stuff. I know you've got the radio plugged in with a USB lead there. What? So you're sending the control over OpenHD instead of actually using the radio. How's that working out?
It's working fine. It uses. I wanted to test it out to see how it would work, and I thought I can't be bothered to put a receiver in. I think most people would probably put a receiver in as well, just because they're probably translating over stuff. But I just wanted to see how it would go. So basically, it just looks at the radio like it's a joystick, and then it sends the control signals over, and that looks perfectly like a regular radio does. You can put it on iNav in the configurator, and you can see your sticks moving, just as they would with a receiver. So as long as you've got a video signal going, presumably you've got a control signal as well. Now I'm not sure what happens at the end of the range, because the video signal tends to sort of get a bit digital and stuff. But I had that happening when I was sort of on the ground 160 odd meters away, but the control signal was still absolutely fine through some of that video blockiness. So I think I'll probably be using a receiver on the next one, as it was just kind of an experiment. But again, it's a way of compressing down stuff, because having Raspberry Pis, as I said, even small ones, can be a bit of a pain to install things, especially the cameras for them, and trying to fit stuff in, and an extra bit like a receiver can get in the way. Although receivers are so tiny these days.
Nice to have an integrated solution if it's an option, I guess, as well, isn't it? It's kind of
the
holy grail of quads.
There's some quite nice stuff you can do, and I didn't really go into the video about the QOpen HD application, which was the DVR ground recording. Because you're on the ground there, you can, for example, put a picture-in-picture map over, because if you've got the signal there, like a phone signal, you can sort of plot where you are, a bit like on DJI when it's got the little map there and it's got your little dot and where you've gone. You can do the same thing, which is quite nifty. I generally don't do it on my videos because it's like, I live here, come visit me. So rather than that, but yeah, there's all sorts of interesting little things. There were a couple of bits that were a bit quirky and not quite worky, I would say, but I've gone through and twiddled with little bits and pieces a bit more. So there's stuff to do.
So what did you notice going from this kind of rough cut where you're on beta software to the release?
There was some improvements. The OpenHD didn't move on an awful lot. They were supposed to be on version 3 by now, looking back at some of their previous stuff. So there was a little bit better talking between iNav and OpenHD. And in fact, one of the mistakes I made is I had clicked this thing saying I'm using iNav, which apparently made my compass go crazy, because what had happened is the iNav Mavlink packets it was sending prior to 2.6 were wrong, and that was a workaround for that. And now I'm on version 3, that should be fine. So that was a little better. The OpenHD stuff, I didn't notice much had really changed at all that I could see. I'm sure there were plenty of improvements in that and some GUI changes and stuff. But yeah, they still hadn't done some of the stuff I wanted them to do, like being able to mirror from a DSI monitor out to an HDMI and stuff like that, which seemed like it might be pretty popular. But
now, obviously, Mavlink, that's going to get you up and running if you're on iNav or ArduPilot, but what about everyone who's on Betaflight? I saw there's an MSP option. Is that something you've looked at?
I haven't looked at that. And the other thing, it does mention on the website about it can take an awful lot of different telemetries, one of which was vector telemetry, and I've got a vector in one of my planes. Yeah. So I was like, oh, how's that work? And that's not written up. But it suggests that you could use telemetry from Betaflight or iNav in different ways, or use Mavlink. Everybody in the world that is seeming to be doing range flying is generally doing some sort of ArduPilot stuff. So that's certainly the most supported option.
So that's totally the other end of the spectrum from Betaflight, really. like RG Pilot's super serious, then iNav's kind of in the middle. Maybe you want to mess around with your GPS a bit, and Beta Flight's like, yeah, we use the GPS if we're really in trouble.
Yes, the old missile to home option.
Right.
That's what I like to call it. Which
Race
is
squad
super
in
fun.
the face.
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, I haven't checked the MSP stuff out, which it'd be an interesting one to check. It's I guess mostly because it seems to be that most beta flight people we perhaps looking at the sort of fast quad racing, or not racing necessarily, but the sort of more fast needs less latency, whereas iNav tends to suggest like I'm more cruising around and I've got GPS functions. And
so it's
right
kind
now,
of tolerant. Sorry, Finn.
I was just going to say, right now it's not at the latency where you'd want to fly super fast quads very close to trees, but it would do well on cruising around and stuff. So I don't think it's sort of gathered the guys that are flying beta flights saying, "Oh, is this a cheap HD solution for me yet?"
Yeah, that's definitely where I think everyone's hoping it'll go, but no one's kind of brave enough to jump in and say, "Yeah, I'm gonna put in some work and push it in that direction." Everyone's just like, "Hey, let's just fly around and stay 100 feet above the ground and not go anywhere near any trees. Be careful."
Well, I'd hope to be able to get the time and space to mess around with it, because as soon as I'm happy flying in a big quad, then my point of view would be saying, okay, well, how do we put this through to a small quad? And let's say, oh, okay, I don't care about having navigation, because as soon as you're in a small quad, getting a GPS plus a compass means you're on some sort of weird stalk thing, so the compass doesn't interfere, which is often a pain. So I'm just happy to go a little bit more sort of
You're not going to
raw, if you like. Let's just see if we can get good video with minimal OSD that we need, and see what happens if we do fly in a sort of faster, more exciting quad.
Well,
how long before we crash it into a tree?
You're on PWM for your RC link, aren't you, with that F450?
I'm on PWM on the ESCs. Yeah,
on the ESCs. Yeah, sorry. So you're not going to do anything particularly crazy.
No, and just getting that flying was interesting. Putting just iNav and like, let's hover, and this thing was like tuning everything down further just to get it flying smoothly. Took quite a long while, but it seems to be okay. But yeah, I look forward to putting it on something better.
How low was low?
I can't remember. Pretty low. It's literally like, I'll take that down. I'll take that down some more. It's the first time I've ever broken a prop on that thing, because it went out so much that it landed and took out one of my lovely props that I can't buy anymore because they don't make.
How many spare arms do you have left for that?
None.
Ooh, exciting. Yeah, I haven't seen one of those for a while.
It's fine. It's crashed a lot. I've only broken one arm with all the crashes ever.
That's surprising.
Yeah.
I always looked at those plastic arms and thought they're just going to snap like, coffee stirrers.
They seem very strong until you're slamming them to the ground, because it's quite heavy and it's got big stuff on it. And then when you slam into the ground, it's like, that's not right. And my one broke because the DJI bullet connectors, and they're famous, like, this can create a short with this type of bullet connector because it's not quite connected, and if you just hold it in a certain position, it might just flip out for a second, which is what happened. So they did get replaced.
I remember the bullet connectors and reading like pages and pages of blog posts about people who were soldering together these fantastic quadcopters back in the day with their bullet leads, and I'm just like, no, the hobby, it's not ready for me yet. I'm just going to come back in a year or two. Came back and everyone's like, yeah, we're not doing that anymore. It's crazy.
Okay. I remember soldering them bloody things, bullet connectors. That's really easy to take your motor off. What? Just like, they were never needed at all, really, were they?
They were. You used to burn stuff out so quickly and destroy stuff.
Well, I
some of these race
guys. Yeah.
I can't really remember ever when we've needed to say, oh, hang on, I just need to swap out this ESC or this motor because something bad happened.
Well, racers. So there's people now who are doing race leagues and they're using the 3-pin version of the XT60, an MR something, to swap the whole motor out and just put it on plugs because they're accepting smashing arms.
Quicker if you are racing and break an arm, you can just do that. I mean,
but at least with that, you're not going to smack the connectors and short.
Yeah,
If you're replacing a motor or an ESC because it's gone poof, then you're going to have to replace both of them. So there's no point having the connection there electrically. But yeah, if it's that you've broken an arm, then that kind of makes sense. If you're doing a quick swap over,
definitely.
I don't know if back in the day the idea was, look, you can build this DJI 450 and you only have to do 9 solder collections. Isn't that amazing? Because you just had to, you got the frame and the bottom frame all flexible, came with this little sort of integrated PCB, and you just solder each of the ESCs onto it, and then you solder the power onto it, and that's it. And then you would plug in an ASA, and you say, look, it's amazing. It holds in the sky, and look, press this button, it will fly off to China. That was the amazingness of the day.
So do you think the reason people use individual ESCs is just kind of inertia and maybe the lack of reliability 5 years ago, rather than the fact that 4-in-1 ESCs have always been a bad idea?
They didn't seem to exist back in the day. They were a new and exciting thing.
Yeah,
I'm talking
they weren't
back
around
in
when
2012 is when I think I got that DJI 450 frame. And it was like, wow, this is amazing. This is so easy to build compared to my tricopter, and it's so easy to fly compared to everything.
So people just took an ESC off of a plane, and they're like, whoa, do you need more than one? That's crazy. We just sell them one by one. So it was literally they didn't exist. That's the reason people weren't using them then. Because it seems that a lot of people have really got it in for kind of 4-in-1, and they're unreliable. Oh, yeah, you're going to lose the whole thing, and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I think there was also a kind of the 4-in-1s came in before the individual ones stopped blowing up, sort of without warning. And then, if you're in a situation where your ESC blows up for no reason, then you're going to be a bit pissed off if that takes out all 4. But I think that's kind of behind us now, particularly with like the 32-bit ESCs seem to be a lot more sort of tolerant of bad situations, as far as I can tell.
Well, you can't buy them at the moment, though, can you?
No,
yeah, because
they've all gone.
Chip shortages.
Yeah, it's one thing I've noticed.
LES, baby.
Yeah, all the pro drones, like the top of the range ones, over the last couple of months have gone from BL Heli 32 back to BL Heli S, and now everyone's including all these articles in their professional drone pages. Oh, you can flash this with Blue Jay, or you can flash this with BL Heli. You can still get RPM telemetry. Don't worry. They just haven't got the chips for the BL Heli 32 ESCs anymore.
No chips left.
Yeah, I've also heard that like the chip shortages are not necessarily sort of true shortages, but also there's like, because it's sort of started happening for real, there's also a realization amongst a load of industries that you can like stop your competitors from being able to deliver a product by buying everything up. And so there's this kind of slightly annoying situation where people are like stockpile the chips that their competitors use, even if they don't use them, just to be awkward. So
there's weird situations with the car automotive things where there were chips that have been made since the 1980s on really old processes, and there were just a couple of companies buying these chips, but huge companies buying them in huge quantities, and they paid for the machines to be kept going and going and going. And when this shortages came down and global manufacturing paused, they actually paused production of some of these ancient lithography processes. And when they paused that production, the guys making the chips shut down the machine and took it off the floor and put a brand new one in instead. So when the manufacturers came back and said, can we get those chips again, the ones we've been buying since the 80s, they'd like, I ain't got the machine anymore, it's gone, it's in a skip. So they have to like redesign circuits to do what these ancient chips could do, because they've just been lazily using the same design since forever on the same lithography process, which is now not something they can't produce because they binned the machine.
Lithography, the use of repelling water and oil.
No, like etching.
Really? Okay. I never knew that was a process for chips.
Yeah, like UV lithography. No,
I'll check
maybe
it
I've got
out.
the word wrong. But yeah, this is like chip etching when they're actually using really high frequency light to, when people talk about like 10 nanometer or 60 nanometer, it's the size of the features they're actually drawing onto the chip.
I'll check it out, man. No, it's good. You're probably
Sorry.
right. No, it's fine. It's fine. No, I unheard of. A gap in my knowledge, but is it really important anymore if they're all in a skip? Who knows?
That sounds like just up your street, Jack. Like, wait
Right.
until something from
Where
the
is that
80s is
skip?
completely useless, and then really get into it. That
Then
seems
attempt to
like
buy
your-
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That seems
No,
like
Jack's
your
from
MO.
the 80s and pretty much completely useless.
Thanks. And on that note, that's the end of the show. We got to do a bonus Patreon stream, so stick around for that. If you're a Patreon and you want to go to LDO No, then check out patreon.com/Let's Drone Out. Tonight we have been joined by our dementia-ridden old lady Tony.
Bonjour.
Everyone's favourite curry kitten.
Goodbye.
Our Lord and Master Frank.
Bye.
The amazing, he could do a better job on his own running LDO. Belric.
You're all great. Thank you very much.
With an impressive moustache that could win World War One. And I've been Jack, Bright Till I Fly. Thank you. Good night.